So this is a meteor from space. Watch I blow out my back doing this and then I'm screwed for the rest of this trip. Oh. I mean, it's properly heavy. Watch, now you're gonna tell me it's not a meteor from space.
It's penguin.
So we went to Antarctica.
That's right.
I heard.
Yeah, I heard that.
This was one of those things that I feel like Graham forced through, which
Antarctica was on the radar for like.
Well, introduce. We're starting the
6
podcast.
months. Sorry.
Introduce us.
I'm getting there, young Bradley. I was just getting ready to say this is one of the things that Graham forced through,
Yes.
as I've been known to do a time or two. I am sitting here with EP Brad.
Hello.
DP Seth. Brad unfortunately missed out on the trip, as did Carlos, who is in the background there. I think you guys would have preferred coming, even after hearing the post-trip report about how on and how tiring it was. But
so let's start there. As someone who hasn't been there, who didn't get a chance to go, can you even put into words like what it looks like to someone who's never been there?
The thing I would say is it genuinely just feels like you're on a different planet. Nothing looks like anything you've seen. I mean, like snow looks like snow, but like when you're walking on a glacier, it's unlike anything you've ever seen. It's like the mountains, everything is just, yeah, I mean, that's how I felt. Like it just constantly felt like I was on a different planet.
if money was no object, I would go there every year. It's just unlike almost any place you could possibly
There's like
go.
a purity to it that you won't experience, I think, anywhere else in the world. Maybe not anywhere else in the world, but like to the scale of Antarctica, it feels untouched. Even though we were staying in camps that were built by man, but like when we're doing these hikes and all this stuff, it just felt so pure and yeah.
Now, right, it should be pointed out that this was about the most glamping version of Antarctica you could possibly do. I mean, you have...
And it was hard, and it was still hard.
You have 5-star cooking in the evenings that was fantastic. You have toilet, you have hot shower, you have warm bed, which is not common in that area.
The rooms would actually get a little too warm, to where a lot of the days when we get back from shooting and I was backing up footage in the pod, I would leave the door open. Because it would be like too hot in there.
Right.
I never, like coldness was never an issue for me. Except for my hands, like towards the end of the days, like when we're heading back to camp, my hands would get cold.
And so that's what when Brad and I were talking ahead of time, I'm like, it's cold, but you're dressed for it.
Yeah.
And you have multiple
Like
layers.
I'm colder here today than I was ever in Antarctica. But I'm also, you're prepared for it.
Why I wanted to do this, aside from just going to this crazy place, is that you have this guy who co-founded it that nobody's ever heard of, but he's been on all these crazy adventures, and then he's defied all odds in building this lodge there. And I thought we could tell his story well. I also was hopeful but unsure how the content would perform through our platforms, which, in fairness, has not performed as well as we would have hoped. But I like the idea of doing episodes like this on occasion that, aren't focused around a big name, but just something super interesting.
Yeah.
So Patrick took you, you were there for 8 days.
And Patrick Woodhead was who we were there
Yes,
profiling during 8 days in Antarctica.
Yeah, so Patrick took you to some of his favorite hikes. He took you to some caves and ice tunnels. Watching through the footage again, I don't know whether it was for the cameras, but there's a lot of, oh my gosh, like what if this caves in? What if this, which I think was funny. But the question there is, what was the moment, was there ever a moment where you're truly like, oh crap, like I am worried that something might happen?
Wait, I want to answer this before Seth. So first, when I saw these cuts of the show, I'm like, oh my God, every word out of my mouth was morbid.
So what happens when this collapses?
Look, it'll happen real fast.
Watch, this just shifts a couple feet in while we're here. Can you imagine? That'd be the worst death ever.
Slowly getting compressed to death.
I don't even know. Why does my mind go there?
Dude, I don't know. I wish it wouldn't.
When I was actually in it, genuinely, I had, I mean, probably unfounded concerns, but concerns like when we're underground in the ice cave, that cars would drive over, that it just might collapse. And, you know, it happens so fast that, but you're still going to be conscious for a short while you're
Buried alive.
having the most awful death ever. So yes, that did cross my mind. I don't know what crossed Seth's mind other than the first day. I think it was the first day, maybe it was the second day. We're, you know, hiking tight into other people, like
in
walking
mind,
on a walk. Wait.
I don't do this kind of.
So I have the benefit that I've like hiked on a glacier before, tied into people, or I haven't done a lot of that sort of hiking, but I'm at least familiar with it. And everybody else that was there, outside of maybe Lariche, had, you know, experience with this as well. And, you know, I'm talking to Patrick, and we're like, oh, this would be cool to film. So I'm like, okay, why don't we stop? I'll tell them to stop and ask them to film. And I said, hey, and this is all on camera and audio, I'm sure you can, you know, you can see this. But I'm like, hey, Seth, you mind getting a shot of this?
Maybe there's the opportunity for you guys, Patrick and I.
Graham, I just want to focus on this right now. Just let us get somewhere.
Get off the slope.
I've almost fallen like 3 times. I'm not.
I turned to Patrick. Patrick's like, oh, he doesn't have experience with this.
It was, yeah, so let's hear my perspective of that.
Now, fast forward
Seth's.
a couple days, Seth would run up and down that without concern. But like that moment, that moment, it was like his life was flashing before his eyes, and he wanted to kill me.
Yeah, no, okay, but here's how it actually, so yeah, I've never done anything like, I've done a lot of hiking and stuff like this, but like you go there and it's a completely different, like you have to be in a certain level of shape for them even to let you be there. And the first day we're hiking,
and if you aren't in a certain level shape, they'll take you on like easy
they'll
stuff.
alter your experience.
We were doing the
but we wanted
Patrick
to do
thought would
everything.
be cool.
Yeah. So we get to the top of this mountain, the T-Rex, and it's like, it's not that bad getting up there, whatever. It's just like snow and rocks. And you get to the top, and you're walking, we shoot some interview stuff, we're like, cool, this is awesome. And you look down, and it's just like snow and ice down to a crevasse, which is like certain death. And one of the guides, who was this French guy, who was like kind of was like...
That's nice.
He was. He was like...
And was that because of you panicking on the bunny hill? Or was
Well, he was like, you know, he's trying to tell you, like, he's very nonchalant about it because this is the kind of guy who, like, this is nothing for him. And we're putting on these crampons, which are spikes that you connect to your boots. They gave us a blue bag before we went out. I didn't know what they were. We get there and he's like, yeah, you got to put these on. And I'm like, oh, I've never even walked in these. And he's like, so he's explaining, like, you have to walk, your foot has to be at the angle of the slope, you can't cross over, blah, 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 blah. If you slip, just don't slip on your butt, because then you'll just slide down into the crevasse. And this is all happening while I'm like trying to get these spikes on my boots.
I mean, you
like,
are tied into 3
yeah,
other
yeah, but I'm not
people
even considering that. Like, I've never been tied in. I'm not, that has no relevance to me at this point. It's like, okay, these keep me from sliding. If I slide and don't fall on my butt, like, what am I gonna fall on? Like, if I'm gonna fall on my butt. But yeah, you're wearing like waterproof pants. So it's like, you will just slide. In my brain, if I fall, I die. That's where my brain is. The second I slip and fall, but I'm like, the crampons, obviously they're not gonna put me in a position to die. So like these crampons must be like.
And the panic was real in his
Well,
face at that moment.
Here's the thing is like, whatever you see on camera, it doesn't know justice. Like, it's so much steeper than it looks on camera. And I'm taking my steps, and I'm also rolling the whole time. So I'm like, I'm to shoot an episode, and you have to cross over your feet.
Like crab walk?
Yes, you can't walk
kinda
sideways. You have to
yeah.
keep your feet pointed, so you have to like cross over your feet.
Yeah.
And I immediately like slip and catch myself. I'm like, this is how I'm gonna die. This is it. This is how I'm gonna die. Again, not aware that like if I fall, like people are roped and they're just gonna stop me and I'm gonna get up. It's no big deal. And I hadn't experienced that yet. So, and then it happened like 3 times in a row where I'm like slipping and catching myself, slipping and catching myself. And at this point, it's like full on just survival.
What just happened?
Someone fell down a mountain like 3 times in a row. Your boot goofing. I was goofing. I was just doing too much goofing.
Stressing a little bit there.
Well, Graham, you almost slide down a mountain. It's you know, it affects you a little bit. That'll do it.
Is it called building character?
This was by no means the hardest hike we did, but
was
they
the
wanted to
easiest thing
do
we did.
They wanted to do something a little more aggressive day one to see where everybody's fitness level was, so they could understand what to do the rest of the trip.
So I'm slipping, catching myself, full on just instincts are kicking in, just like I have to survive this. And then Graham is just like, hey Seth, do you think we could, he's like trying to be like, hey, maybe if we, and I'm just like, nope, shut the up. Like I have to just focus on getting down this hill.
I have to survive.
Yeah, and then by the time I get down the hill, it's like, okay, what'd you want? And he was like, I just want you to stand here and shoot this. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. But that is also the point where I realized like, man, my eyes feel weird. Like we're starting to burn a lot, which they had warned us like about snow blindness. And if you're not wearing strong enough sunglasses, I absolutely was not wearing strong enough sunglasses. Somebody told me that they were.
There's a rumor going around that the snow blindness maybe wasn't as bad as you made it out to be.
Oh, give me a break. You didn't experience it. It felt like I had broken glass in my eyes. It was.
Lariche messaged that to Brad.
Oh, what did Lariche say?
He's lying.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say Lariche is my boy. Lariche would have my back. No, it's not. Snow blindness is. Though the recovery is fast, thank God. When you're in it, it's a sunburn on your retinas. So picture that. Like it literally felt like there was broken glass or like sand in my eyes. And it was so bad that I could hear my muscles like tensing in my head. When I was laying, I had to lay there in darkness for like 8 hours to help them heal so I could shoot the episode. And I could hear my muscles like,
I'm sorry.
it was
Sounds painful.
awful. It was so bad. It put me in the worst mood. I was like in the most foreign place I could possibly be. Like I just had to literally lay there. They're all going off exploring and I just had to lay in this pod with nothing. Like I couldn't watch a movie. I couldn't be exposed to light at all.
Hold on. Everybody else had normal sunglasses on the trip.
No, they didn't. They all had the blockers. There was a list sent. Here's the gear you'll need for the Antarctica shoot. And I was like, I don't have any of it. And then I was told, well, you don't have sunglasses?
Wait, no, there were plenty of people that had normal sunglasses. I know other people. I had normal sunglasses.
Well,
But normal sunglasses can still have different levels
Yeah,
of
okay,
that is
polarity
fair.
and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
different stuff within it.
mine, I guess, weren't very dark, which also I lost those on that trip too, so it sucks. But yeah, it was.
I mean, that wasn't the only thing you.
I also lost some gear. Yep, I was wondering if that would come up.
And for some context
careful with
there,
your logo.
for some context there, real quick, it's Seth and Graham going. You know, usually we travel with 3
So
other
many more
people
people.
on
Yeah.
a shoot, and we have more than on site. This was literally just
And it's
Seth,
usually-
Graham, and an audio tech.
Right,
so,
right.
Who we
And
picked
really-
up in South Africa.
Right.
Right.
So-
So it's a lot on you guys to have to make sure that. I mean, it was less equipment than what we normally carry with us to a shoot, but it's still so much more responsibility that you guys have to take care
Well, I
of.
think a lot of it too is we were there for so long, and we ended up just going bare bones everything. So like any extra support I brought didn't end up getting used. These things that got left behind were extra like camera support that I just out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing. And it was just I mean.
And in fairness, it was a lot harder on Seth than it was on me with regards to picking up extra duties because, I mean, while we both kind of had to produce, the reality is you had to do a number of other roles that you would have had trusted people to assist with. Whereas,
well, not to mention too, everything we're doing, I'm seeing it for the first time. Mm-hmm. You know, so there's no like, if we're doing a house tour or whatever, it's like, okay, cool. Hey, let's try to do X, Y, and Z. But
Versus
it's like, hey, we're going to a mountain that 10 people have been to. It's
And,
just
and
like,
Graham,
I don't know how to
Graham's been there before too, not necessarily to that
But not
mountain,
on the hikes, but yeah.
but he's been, so he knows the environment.
Right.
Because he was there a few years ago.
But also, when you're shooting people doing the kind of things we were doing, you have months to prep for these kind of things, and you're building camera positions and hanging people from wires and cables, and so you can get angles. We were just going out and trying to get it. So that was a huge pressure I felt this whole time. I was like, we're coming all the way here. Like, this has to look amazing.
What made us feel more comfortable about the limited crew size, that we really had no choice unless we wanted to spend exorbitantly more money, was the fact that, normally we do a shoot in a day or two. This one's over 8 days. What we thought was going to happen was there was going to be plenty of downtime when we got there over the course of the 8 days. And the reality was that it was, literally you were on from the moment you got there, and there was just enough time to sleep. And while you could back out of certain activities, then you just deep down feel like, well, wait, like, when is there going to be another opportunity to do this ever again?
Yeah, it was definitely like
your life.
We'll shoot 3 or 4 days of the 8, and we shot every single day, including the day we left, because I had to go shoot the plane coming in, which that worked out to where, like, we rushed to the runway to shoot the plane landing. The plane lands, cool, run back. We had to rush back to camp, and as we're getting back to camp, they're hauling all of our gear to the plane, so I had to wave them down, like, in the middle of Antarctica, not we weren't even really by the pods or anything. And then I'm like taking apart cameras and packing them away and all this stuff. So like obviously things get lost in that kind of situations. But yeah, I remember the moment they had us chill in this little lodge until they were ready to take us to catch our flight out. And I shot the last thing that morning with the audio, everything, got it backed up on a hard drive, closed my laptop. And this weight of just like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, it was like overwhelming how relaxed I got in that moment. Because the whole 8 days, I was like, what if the hard drive messes up? What if I lose all this footage? Because it's just me. I don't have I can't mail hard drives home.
All right.
My second hard drive I had with me, the cable broke on it. So I only had one hard drive for the whole, it was one 4 terabyte hard drive, and we shot like 3.8 terabytes.
But by the way, other interesting note, Seth drank the entirety of one type of soda, at the entire camp's stock of that one type of soda. Another note, so you fly to Cape Town, South Africa, and then catch like 5.5 hour flight to Antarctica, and it's like 24 hours a day when we're there, so that was another thing. The flight times aren't exact, so we didn't know when we were leaving Antarctica or leaving Cape Town for Antarctica or going back. You have some general idea, but it's all based on weather patterns because these planes can't fly all the time. Sometimes the planes will literally get there, not land, have to abort the landing and fly all the way back to Cape Town. There was some concern on our flight there that could be happening. We had rented an Airbnb a couple hours outside of Cape Town on the beautiful South African coastline. We had to pay for a couple days that we didn't use because all of a sudden the flight was moved up a lot earlier than we were planning on departing. There was some concern that, everything had to go right for us to make it back the day before Thanksgiving if anything went wrong, because that is one of the busiest travel times of the year. And we had to hop on a different flight. You don't know for certain that seats are going to be available on that flight. So there was, that concern. But everything, I think, worked out as well as we could have possibly wanted.
For the amount we did and the risks we took and, the limitations we had on crew and everything like that, everything went really well. In the moment, it felt like, chaos. And it was just like, every night was me laying in bed like, how the hell am I going to shoot this tomorrow? I don't know what it looks like. And there was some stuff where we literally couldn't. We were like handing a camera up to somebody like, hey, get a shot of this, because you're on these cliffs where you have to have both hands on, and it's like a 300-meter drop. So you have to. There is no
Yeah.
shooting. Like a lot of
Yeah.
it was like
Yeah.
walking, you know, where you can shoot people walking. But when you're climbing, there's no way to shoot that. So that was.
Speaking of big drops, Graham, would you have been stupid enough to take the toboggan down the rappel
Okay.
slope?
Okay. When he brought that up, you can't, because it was overcast, you really can't even see what's in front of you. And so I had no idea there was a cliff there. So yeah, I probably would have been stupid enough to drive the toboggan off the cliff had he said it's that, because you just can't see.
Missed opportunity.
But yeah, that's another thing. You know, we did this tobogganing, and I knew I was going to get hurt on that because for whatever reason I had in my head, oh, I have to get hurt in Antarctica. And
Turns out it was me.
I was egging him on about going higher up.
Yeah.
And we didn't end up, I think we went marginally higher than he was planning to go.
But you both wrecked about halfway down, so
yeah.
you never got up to like full.
But it, you know, it's like a sheet of ice. That's what it feels like. And my back, like genuinely this morning, I got up and my back still hurts from that.
The way you fell off, though, didn't look like it was a natural way to fall off unless you purposely fell off.
Well, it depends which time you're talking about. The first time
was whatever time.
real.
The first time was when
Which
it
one did
really
we include
hurt.
in the episode?
You included a little
both,
both.
technically.
Both?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I know the one you're. Yes, I know the one you're talking
Yeah,
about. now.
because
Yes.
that one, I think
Yes.
that for
You just went sideways.
Yes.
yeah, because
Yes.
for some of it, I think I was riding behind him. I don't, but then I tried to turn and then I flipped, but the issue was because it was overcast, you can't see the
Oh, yeah.
bumps in the snow, and yeah, it hurt, like legit hurt.
Well, there was, yeah. I mean, that was a genuine, and you weren't making it any better for me. I was like, am I gonna die on this trip? Because it's like, it wouldn't be like, you know, unheard of for somebody to go to Antarctica filming something who's as ignorant as I am and as confident as I am to go do what I shouldn't be doing, and all of a sudden I fall in a crevasse or whatever. But then I have Graham telling me every day the week leading up to it, like, I had a dream we died in Antarctica last night.
God, way to go, Graham.
And all this I'm just like, dude, so I tell Lizzie that, and then she's freaking out, like, why'd you tell me that? So then it's the day before.
You really told Liz?
Yeah, because I was like, I wasn't like really stressed, but I was like, Graham keeps telling me that he's having dreams we're dying. And she was like, well, why is he doing that? So then it's like the day before we leave, or the day we leave, we're in South Africa still, because they moved our flight up a day. And I was like, all of a sudden I got this wave, and I'm not an anxious person, but I got this wave of like anxiety, I guess, just like felt like something bad was gonna happen. And it was to the point where I like just had to like block it out and be like, and then Lizzie calls me and she was like, your mom is really worried, like we're both really worried about, and I was just like, don't tell me that. But like as soon as we got there, it was like, this is great. I'm not worried about anything. There was definitely moments, but then like it's crazy from what we did day 1 to what we were doing by like day 7 and 8. Day 7 was like literally hanging off a cliff face and I wasn't scared.
That was the second to last day was certainly the hardest day of hiking.
And
That
Patrick was
crazy.
even like, that's a rough hike. Like it's dangerous. And that didn't scare, I mean, it was like, oh, like that looks gnarly, but I was by no means, if you would have had me do that day 1, I would have not done it. There's no chance I would have done it.
You got to give a lot of credit to White Desert. They were awesome.
Dude, their crew is amazing.
If you're into, luxury glamping and have the money to spend,
Yeah.
highly, highly recommend.
There's not a
White
better way
Desert.
to do Antarctica.
Right. Patrick Woodhead is awesome. Mindy, the rest of his team are fantastic.
Jacqueline.
And check out the lodge, the entire staff at
Yeah,
camp.
they were all amazing.
Done treks all over the world. They source all the best folks, and if you have not done the activities that they offer, they have enough experienced people around you that it makes you feel comfortable. Check out the episode if you get a chance. The full episode's on YouTube. It's aired already on TV, and was an absolute blast. And we wish Carlos and Brad could have been there with us.
Next time.
For young Bradley and Mr. Donnelly, I'm Graham. Goodbye.